Hi everyone, I'm Nia. Welcome to my channel, and let's talk love during your Saturn return. We're going to talk love during your Saturn return. I am almost done with mine, and I've definitely had some really crazy experiences as far as love. One in particular, which was huge, monumental, completely changed how I view love and my whole love situation in general. And I want to talk to you guys about that. So in this video, what we're going to go over are the transits that are happening between Saturn and my natal love planets. We'll talk the transits that happened during the big event that happened to me dealing with love. And how those transits played a part in that. And then I'll give you an update or like an overview of how my beliefs around love and relationships and dating changed because of my Saturn return. Okay, so to start, we do have to talk about what is this event. So I want it to be known that going into my Saturn return, I had a view of love that was very hopeful and very optimistic. I believed in romantic love. I believed in that happily ever after. And the person that I decided to pursue as a love interest was someone that I had known for a very long time. We had a long history. And I also want to emphasize that Nasir is made from love. However, that relationship ended, and we'll just say it ended due to a betrayal. I'm not going to go into full detail because I'm trying to keep this as sensible as possible. But just know that there was a betrayal, and this betrayal really rocked my world. It rocked all of my beliefs about love, not only just like this person and our relationship, but it changed my beliefs on love and dating in general. So let's talk about the transits that are going to be that are happening throughout my whole Saturn return. So my Saturn is in Aquarius in the 3rd house. Love planets that I'm looking at would be Venus, the moon, and also I include Mars and Jupiter as well. So Saturn is trine my sun, my moon, and my Mercury throughout this whole transit because I am a Gemini sun, moon, and Mercury. And like I said, Saturn is in Aquarius. And so the trine is a very easy aspect. It is something that is it's like a gift. And I definitely look at this aspect as a gift, as protection. What this did is it allowed me to go into my Saturn return with a certain understanding. Go into my Saturn return with an understanding of what was happening. So the sun represents your ego, your personality. The moon represents your emotions, and like it's the most tumultuous part of your chart. It's it goes up and down. It's your ebbs and flows. And Mercury is the way that you think, and it's your communication. So with Saturn being trine all of these things, it just makes it easy for me to get through these transitions that Saturn is bringing. It makes it very easy for me to accept the resistance that I'm getting because I have an understanding of it. And remember, Saturn and all of my personal planets are in air signs. Not all of them, but the 3 that we mentioned, Sun, Moon, and Mercury, are in air signs. So I'm able to think about it. That's not necessarily the best for my moon because when it comes to your emotions, you're not supposed to think through them. You're supposed to feel them. But regardless, I did feel, I don't want to say comfortable, but like I had more of an understanding of why these things were happening. And also the trine, as I said earlier, it represents a gift, right? So the reason why it's a gift is because it's something you don't have to think about. It just kind of comes easy to you. You get it. You automatically do it well. And so that being said, I am someone who's grown to really like the planet Saturn, believe it or not. And I like it because I understand that the reason why Saturn is bullying you is because there's a larger reward that is possible for you if you get through the work that needs to be done. And so I looked at the sun, a trine to my sun, moon, and my Mercury as a promise from Saturn that, like, you will be okay. You know what I mean? You're gonna get out of this fine. You're gonna pass through this with flying colors, and you're gonna come out renewed and understanding a different, understanding yourself in a different way. As well as Saturn is in Aquarius, and my, you know, as I said, I'm a Gemini, sun, moon, and Mercury, but Saturn being in Aquarius, Aquarius is about individuality, and it's about kind of standing on your square, but amongst other people, right? Within a crowd, but standing on your own square and really solidifying who you are, individualizing who you are. But still being able to interact with other people and not judge them regardless of how they feel. So I think that that was part of the gift of what is waiting for me on the other side of the Saturn return. Is now I really get to dig into and solidify who I am and what I want and how I want my love and relationships to show up for me. Because as we'll see with my Venus and Mars in Leo, it's very easy to buy into the theories and the things we've been told about love and the happily ever after. You know, you kind of want love the way you want love. You want people to love you the way that you love them. And I think that Saturn had to come in and smack me upside the head and give me a reality check, as in, it's not all lovey-dovey. It's not all romance. It's not all sweetness. There is work that goes into relationships. There's work that goes into compatibility. Those types of lessons had to be taught. So moving on to, also, we're going to look at Venus, Mars, and Jupiter as well. Those are in Leo, as I just said. So that means that Saturn is opposing all of those planets. And I really want to focus, which this is a aspect that it's natal to me. Like, I am used to Venus being opposite, my Saturn being opposite my Venus and my Mars and all of those things. But I think of all of them, the one that I really want to talk about and hone in on is Saturn opposite Jupiter, because Jupiter represents your like abundance and your luck, but it also represents your belief system and the things that you've been indoctrinated to. And I definitely feel like within my overall view of love, as well as within the relationship that I was in, I was kind of like, I don't want to use, it's not brainwashed. I wasn't brainwashed. I had this story that I was telling myself about love, about our love, about that relationship. And when this betrayal happened, when this event happened, it shattered all of it. It shattered all of it. Like, there was no way that that belief could stand anymore after that event. Like, it couldn't happen. And I think that Saturn trining my sun had a lot to do with that, because it allowed me to remember who I was and how I feel about myself and the value that I bring to a relationship and all the work that I've done spiritually, because I was still able to access that sense of like who I am. When that belief got challenged, I didn't give into it, and I just took it for what it was. It was hard. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't easy. It was hard as shit. But I accepted it because it didn't align anymore. I understood that I couldn't be in this type of relationship and allow what happened to continue to happen, and at the same time be the woman that I know myself to be. They did not match, and there was no getting around that. You know what I mean? So that Saturn opposite Jupiter, it definitely came through in that way. But also, on the grand scheme of like my Saturn return with an opposition, it's like a teeter-totter. It's an up and down type of thing. You go back and forth between two energies. And so with Jupiter being about luck and abundance, but also about like overdoing things in a way, and Saturn is very restrictive, and Saturn is like, very realistic with my Saturn return, but particularly with 2022, I saw a lot of like, as much good as there was just as much like challenge. You know what I mean? So like I got a lot of blessings and a lot of really great things happened for me. In the nature of Aquarius, I met a lot of really cool people. I connected with people who were on the same wavelength as me and who liked the same things as me. I started to make more friends, but at the same time, I lost things that I, kind of, I won't say, well, yeah, I kind of kept them as a part of my identity, or like I really, like a lot of things that I believed in, and things that I just kind of like attached to. I lost a lot of them within this year. So, and this whole relationship was okay. So on the day of the event, Saturn was conjunct Pluto. It was a wide orb. However, with conjunctions, you can go up to 7 degrees, and this was conjunct at exactly 7. So I'm counting it because it makes sense. All right. The structure and the structure of my life was completely transformed that day. Like completely transformed. Nothing was the same. And Pluto pulls things like up to the surface. You know what I mean? So like Pluto deals with those things like the undercurrent. It's the underworld. You know what I mean? Like it's Hades. Hades is the god of the underworld, right? So like it's those secrets, it's those things that are working behind the scenes. And I feel like when Pluto's involved, we tend to deal with things that we're unconscious of, but they're actually running the show in a way, or like traumas that are happening or things that are happening behind the scenes. And so I definitely didn't, okay, the event was very interesting because a lot of the reason why it changed, at least in the beginning of the event, a lot of the reason why it changed my life wasn't necessarily because anything had happened yet. So the beginning of it was like nothing had happened yet. It was just, I was peeping behavior. I was peeping what was being said. Like like the vibe of what was going on before anything happened. Like I just knew, oh, there's some shit happening here. There's something going down, or it's too close for comfort. But I didn't have anything like, nothing super concrete had happened in the beginning of the event, because it eventually something did happen later on that night. Something did happen that was like, oh no, done, right? But before then, that whole day, because this happened around the course of a day, that whole day I was just feeling it. It was like super intuitive. I could feel it, that there was something creeping up. There was something happening. There was movement happening behind the scenes. There were plans being made for certain reasons. And also Saturn being conjunct Pluto makes sense because Pluto has to do with intimacy and sex and sexual relations, and this event also had to do with those things. So that makes sense as well. Saturn was also conjunct transit Mars at a 2-degree orb. So Mars is a very fiery, very fast and hot energy, like a hot energy. It also represents violence. It represents anger. And of course, like I was pissed that day. There was fighting. It wasn't a good feeling. But I feel like Saturn conjuncting that Mars kind of kept everything at bay. Don't get me wrong. It was there. Like the intensity was still there. The fire was still there, but it wasn't as explosive as it probably could have been. And then also Saturn was opposite my midheaven at 2 degrees on that day. And what that says to me is it was like, it almost says like Saturn's like, okay, now you have a choice. Are you going to continue with this identity that you've had of, you know, being in this relationship and you have this new baby and it's you and this person are in this copacetic relationship? Or are you going to step into your truth and create a new structure? So, because again, like I said, that opposite is like that, it's that teeter totter. It's what are you about to do? You know what I mean? And I could have, and also opposites can deal with projection. And I could have projected the responsibility onto him or onto someone else or something else, because I wanted to keep that identity that I had created over the years and being with this person. And also, you know, having a child with this person. But I chose to jump ship because, again, I think it's that Saturn trine my sun and my moon and my Mercury. Like, it's not, all I kept feeling was it's not adding up. None of this is adding up. Like, what you're doing, what you're saying, they're not matching. And who I say I am and who I know myself to be, that it's not gonna work with what you're bringing to the table. You know what I mean? So the events of that day just completely shattered all of my thoughts. I mean, about love. Yes, all of my thoughts about love, all of my thoughts about relationships and everything. And I definitely was hurt, super hurt by what happened. But also what came of it in true Saturn fashion is a better understanding, and like the reward of going through the changes of love and everything during that event, the reward after that is such a greater sense of who I am and what I want. Like, it really forced me to be accountable about how I ended up in a relationship with someone who isn't displaying the things that I know I need and want. And I had to really have that conversation with myself and really dig deep about how that could occur. You know what I mean? And the next thing I want to talk about is the change. Like I was talking earlier about Saturn touching my Jupiter and how it completely changed how I view relationships, what I think about love and everything. And so the part that was hard during all of this was what I was just speaking about, which was questioning myself and the decisions I had made up until that point. Really having to interrogate like how I ended up there, because I'm a very spiritual person. I am in touch with my ancestors. Like, you know, I have a good relationship with them. And in 2020, before I even, like I told you guys, me and this person have a history together. So in 2020, before I even engaged in this relationship, I did my research, okay? Like, not my research, but I did my due diligence. I consulted my ancestors. I prayed on it. I consulted my friends. I consulted my family. I really did a thorough check of like, okay, I am feeling like I should do something. I'm feeling like I should, you know, try and reconnect with this person or whatever. But at the same time, I thought this was done. And I kept getting, yes, go for it. It's great. Go for it. Yes, yes, yes. I got yeses all around. So imagine how you feel after you do all of that. In the beginning of something, you know, you consulted your team, you know, you asked those questions, and then at the end, for it to end in the way that it did, for it to end in some kind of betrayal, you're like, what? Like, what the fuck was that? But I realized that this was all, I don't want to say it was a setup, but it kind of was, but in a good way, because I think that my ancestors and I think that God wanted me to go through this to, like I said, walk out with this greater sense of self. And also because my child is supposed to be here. He's supposed to be here. And I can make a video about this, but like before Nas was born, I felt him like 2 years before he was born. I felt baby energy around me. So, and once I felt that, I started like leaning into it and praying, and trying to talk to his spirit. And I told his spirit to bring I was like, ain't nobody around. Like, I'm not dealing with nobody. So if you trying to come here, I'm gonna need some time. And also you need to bring your daddy, because I don't know who he is. And so then fast forward 2 years later, and I'm starting to get this rumbling of like, I think I should reconnect with this person. You know what I mean? So Nas picked him, which I'm happy about, and I don't regret that at all. But I know from like for me on the love front, it was hard. But when I really look at the reward of Saturn, I think the reward comes from the fact that, again, I needed to go through that to learn who I was and what I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, what does love mean to Natalia? What does Natalia want from love? What does Natalia want from a love, like from a relationship? Does Natalia want to be married? Does Natalia want, oh, and Natalia is my real name. I go by Natalia or Nia. Sorry, I never specified that to you guys. But like, what does she want? What do you want? Who are you? And what can you, sorry, I got a call, but like, what can you stand on even in the midst of other people and their beliefs and their feelings about it? And so what changed is I realized that I do want marriage. I do want long-term partnership, but there are things that have to happen and have to be in place before I even go there. And I've embarked on different types of, like now I'm choosing to date in a different way than I ever did before. I've never done it before like this. And I'm actually excited about this. It takes a lot of the pressure off. And the next thing that I learned is I gotta put me first, Lucius. I gotta put me first. I gotta put me first, and not me seeing 1122 when I say that, because that's my number. But like, I gotta put me first, and that is what I learned. I think up until, that break that happened, that betrayal. Up until then, I have been putting everyone and everything before me. I was on that unconditional love tip, and what that meant is no matter what, if I loved you, if I rocked with you, if you was, the person that I wanted, like I would give you anything, I would do anything, I would lay myself down. But now, especially with having Nas, who actually deserves that unconditional love, no, it's just me and him. That's it. They're the only people who's getting that. After them, I can love you, but I don't have to be with you. I can love you from afar. And that's something I had to really, really accept, is that sometimes love, like not sometimes, most of the time, love ain't enough. And that's just what reigns true for me right now. That well of unconditional love is going to my child and to me. And when it comes to being in a relationship and loving someone else and that next person who's going to come into my life, it's going to be a partnership. It's going to be a give and take. There's going to be a balance that needs to happen. I'm not just going to be giving of myself wholeheartedly just because I fucks with you and I love you and I think you're a beautiful person. Like it can't be that. I have to love you and think you're a beautiful person and also separate myself and also have my boundaries and also pour into me when I see that you're doing that. You know what I mean? It really gave me the opportunity to say, no, standards, boundaries, girl, you need it. And not just in romantic love, in all of my relationships and all of my friendships, I analyzed everything and everyone that I was interacting with. And honestly, all of my other relationships, my other friendships were spectacular. No one else was showing up in that way for me. It was just my relationship that was operating in that way. Everyone else was pouring into me the same way that I had poured into them. And I decided, you know what? Nope. Shifting my energy. That's where I'm putting my energy, because where energy goes, where attention goes, energy flows, I believe that's what it's called. Y'all know what I'm, something like that. Okay, anyway, but hey, so that's Saturn in love. For my next video, I think that I want to talk about Saturn, and I think I want to do another video. I'm going to do another video on Saturn and spirituality. Saturn and spirituality. I did a video about Saturn and spirituality before, but I kind of want to go deeper with that because I learned some things during my Saturn return about that. So make sure you come back for that one, and also make sure you check out some of the videos I have listed below to check out some of my old stuff. But we are moving forward, and I'm so excited that you guys are here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye-bye.